Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Awesome Naya. Hope you are great. So, a very big shout out to this young man who is always ready to speak out, no matter how hard it is. Because for some people, it is so hard for them to speak up on what they are doing or what their own community are doing. Because why would they condemn it or what? You and I already know that they are trying to make United States of America a white nation. But he was talking about why violence why they are always justifying it in their right mind. Why would you, as a human being, or violent of any type, why would you justify it? It's just like police brutality. And why would somebody in his right mind justify that if you are not a wicked person or a wizard or a witch? Why would somebody justify that? And he also talked about the ancestral violence and how they do not take accountability for most of the things they do. Man, I think accountability is very far away from these people because last I checked, that is not something they want to clock on. That is not something they want to do. That is not something they want to associate themselves with. Accountability. They are so far away from it. And let me tell you something, it is also causing them so much problem because majority of them do not understand that what majority of the things they do affect other people. They need to start holding them accountable for all the things, horrible things they do. Let's get into this video.
White supremacist violence will always be justified by other white people. Always. Let me give some examples. A black man running from the cops. Those of us that pay attention, give a fuck about human beings, know that running shouldn't be a death sentence. We know white cops are inherently violent towards anybody that isn't white. So there will be a flight trauma response. But a lot of white people will see this and be like, yep, should have complied. You heard that a million times. A black child is playing with a toy and the cops murder him. Tamir Rice. White people will be like, well, fuck around and find out. This case, again, going on in my community with Mila Leak. There's a white woman that came up to one of the black community members in our community that's an activist. Mila's white adopted mother sat on her until she stopped breathing. This white woman came up and said, well, you never know what was going on in the house. As if a fucking child, 12-year-old child, deserved to be killed. Pete Hegseth saying kill them all. About people that aren't white carrying out war crimes. Oh, it's justified because some white dude told me they were drug dealers. Oh, well, little white kids going to school and shoot up all these kids, but it's really, they were bullied or their mental health. Let's not do anything to change it. Thoughts and prayers. Oh, this white man walked into a church, shot up a bunch of black people. Well, we just need to be understanding about how he grew up. White dude goes into a grocery store, targets black people, shoots up the place. Well, he was just a disturbed young man. Let's not do anything to change anything. ICE is out here kidnapping kids, kidnapping families, putting them in concentration camps. The white mindset is, some white dude told me they were dangerous, so of course they deserve it. It's always going to be justified. That's a very short list. That's the tip of the iceberg. So where does that stem from? My mind goes to the white slave masters that made a choice to actively view people that weren't white as property, as less than human, so they could always fucking justify the atrocities that they carried out. Decided to see indigenous communities as not human, so they could justify mass genocide. The violence the white evangelical church is carried out or been complicit in for centuries. And then white people will sit here and say, these things happened hundreds of years ago. Why should I even fucking think about it? It doesn't matter right now. It does, because the same shit is going on. The same justification of white supremacist violence is on full display from the president on down. And what this moment in time is showing, which again, Non-white communities have known this forever, but this timeline is showing that white people don't give a fuck about the violence that's carried out against any community that isn't white, because it's justified in the mind of the white collective at all times. And on the flip side, the white people that do care aren't doing anything on a mass scale to change it. So again, this is our ancestral violence coming to fruition. It's never gone away. But now, like I said yesterday, it's in a way that white people can't look away from. You got a president and his administration that wants to make this a whites only country. They've basically said it out loud so many fucking times. And the white collective is accepting them. I see white people think any communities that aren't white are inherently violent. And so the justification is there every fucking time violence is taken against these communities. And the reality is the white collective has always been the most violent motherfuckers in this country. Since the foundations and beginning of this country, when the white invaders came and spread disease and genocide and violence through the indigenous communities. This always falls 100% on us as the white collective. And when you don't look that shit in the mirror, the machine just keeps going. Doesn't matter how much you do this. Well, I don't really talk about politics. I don't give a shit. I don't really feel comfortable talking about those things. Cool, you're a white supremacist. You're just as bad as a fucking Klan member. Any justification of white violence is an admission of who you are as a person. So I wrote about this the other day, but I want to make a video about it too. When we sit here and talk about taking accountability for our ancestral violence as white people, I think within the European American mind, a lot of white people think, what do you mean I got to take accountability for some shit that happened 400 plus years ago? Okay, but hear me out. As a therapist, I spend my time with the people that I work with and walk alongside, tying their trauma, their reactions, their behaviors, tie it back to how they were raised. And then we talk about how their parents were raised. And y'all realize there's a lot of us whose grandparents that are still alive were involved in segregation. You don't gotta go back centuries. That part is definitely fucking important. But if you're not ready to talk about what our grandparents were involved in, you're not ready to go to process through centuries of violence carried out by white people. We got to talk about what our grandparents, for some of you, your great-grandparents, what they were involved in 80 years ago. The direct line to ancestral violence for white people is very short. It's a hop, skip, and a jump. So again, when I talk about, again, in therapy, tying our trauma back to our parents, to our and then, our parents with their parents. When our grandparents were involved in segregation, that was a demonstration of fucking white supremacist violence. Whether they were directly involved or they pretended like that shit wasn't happening or they justified it. When you see that kind of violence get carried out against all these communities that are not white, that impacts who you are as a person. So then we have generations of white parents that are fucking violent towards their children, justify it, and the cycle perpetuates itself. I got people in here all the time. My grandpa was a fucking alcoholic and he was violent towards my dad. Well, yeah, then your parents, my parents, whoever, we grew up with our asses getting beat. Maybe your mom was emotionally abusive. And you don't think that has an impact on who you are as a person? It does. It has an impact on every part of your fucking life. So how is anyone going to be able to tell that we want to change or that we want to do different, that we want to be anti-racist, if we don't take accountability for our own abusive behaviors that we might carry out, what the abusive behaviors our parents, our grandparents carried out, not only towards us, but towards communities that aren't white. It's very easy to start. Like, the logic is there. We definitely need to process centuries of this shit. But again, if you can't get through, your parents and grandparents and process through that shit, this work is deep. It's painful. And it's necessary. Hey, fellow white people. Take 10 seconds to fucking read this. Pause if you need to. That's an actual tweet from the United States government. It's still up. I looked last night. And for those of you that don't understand what remigration is, it is a white supremacist ideology that stands for trying to force any non-white immigrants to go to their country of origin. See also ethnic cleansing through means of forced mass deportations. So this is what the fuck is happening in the United States. Again, every other community outside of whiteness knows this. This is how the United States operates. I've been on this app for 5 years, every fucking day, talking about white supremacy, talking about how Trump is a white supremacist. Been saying it for longer than that off this app. So many people have. So many people. So white MAGA, all the white people that aren't invested in politics or don't give a fuck about what's going on, y'all are in the same boat. This was always coming. There's been plenty of people I've had in-person conversations with off this fucking app that laughed about it, said I was fucking crazy, said I didn't know what I was talking about. The government just fucking tweeted exactly what we've all been saying for 10 years. This is the reckoning for white people, for European Americans. Shit, if they're trying to follow through with that, all white people need to be sent the fuck back to Europe. But that's not what they're talking about. The Trump administration, Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, list goes on, is trying to make this a whites-only country. It'll never happen. But what that does is put white supremacy right in your fucking face as a white person. So if you are not actively anti that in conversations with your friends, family, immediate families, if you are not talking about this and trying to organize with other white people that give a fuck, you actively support it. The words don't have to come out of your mouth. You don't have to say, hell yeah, I'm a segregationist, or hell yeah, I'm a Klan member, or, hell yeah, I'm a fucking white supremacist. That's already been chosen for you. Your lack of caring, the way that y'all try to hide, the way that you try to ignore this shit, is already answering that. You are a white supremacist. Now, there are those that will put that shit blatantly straight out there and say that fucked up shit and support it. But it's everyone else that's silent. It's everyone else that low-key supports Trump and tries not to tell anybody. It's all those motherfucking white family members around the holiday dinner tables. Again, it's you if you're quiet. And I talked about this yesterday. This isn't enough. That's putting it blatantly for everybody to see. You cannot ignore this shit. Again, plenty of people already knew this was coming. Specifically communities that are not white. They already fucking knew. They've been telling everybody. But it didn't mean anything. White supremacy was never a deal breaker for the white collective. And now we're here. It's staring us dead in the face. And now, I've talked about this so many times, nobody knows which white person agrees with that and which one doesn't. So nobody's gonna fucking trust white people I mean, that's already been the case for centuries as it is. But right now, even more so. I said this yesterday too. I've been on here. I've been vocal. You know, I've helped organize my community and all that shit. It doesn't fucking matter. If I go into a community, if I go into somewhere else where people don't know me, the automatic assumption is I'm represent a violent white man in America. I know that. I've come to terms with that. I move throughout life knowing that. I operate accordingly of how I operate out in public, how I interact with people, how people don't interact with me. I understand why. If we don't look this shit in the mirror and address it, take accountability, understand us as a white collective are responsible for this clan fucking bullshit from the top down, nothing's gonna change. And specifically white MAGA, y'all cannot try to statistics your way out of this conversation. You can't try to argue your way out of this. You can't try to deny this. This is your government that the white collective chose. That's telling you exactly what the fuck you signed up for. And you know that. White MAGA, ICE, the Trump administration, I would say the modern day Klan, but shit, the Klan's still fucking here. That's never been designated as a terrorist organization, by the way. And every goddamn European American white-bodied person falls into that category. It does not matter what side of the political spectrum you land on. It doesn't matter what fucking sweet label you have if you're a white leftist, white communist. It doesn't fucking matter. We walk into a room, our whiteness is the first thing people see. And whiteness equals violence, period. That's where we're at.
This is all I got from this video. Before I continue speaking, I will say a very big shout out to this man. I have been watching him for how many years now? He is very consistent, right? You know, I told you that I don't care about any man or any white or white woman that talks or talks about black or other people and people, but let me just give him kudos, right? I know he is married to a black woman. He's really been doing a great job. I love the fact that he is always out there speaking up, right? He is always there. No matter how tiny the voice is, he tries as much as he can to project it so people can hear very well. So I would say that he is doing a great job. And then I will also turn on him if he decided to turn on my people. Yeah, so let's get into this. Sometimes I sit down and I ask myself, there has been a lot going on, life is good, but at the same time, life is not the way we want it to be because, the government makes the life really hard or harder for people to even enjoy because at this point in time, are you not seeing how hard life is? Life is crazy, but I will keep this aside. You and I can actually see how violent these people and everything around them are. One thing with some people is that they do not ever want to believe that they are the problem. And that is also one of the reasons why when you ask them, what is it that fear you about black? They say, I'm scared of black. What are you scared? These people have lived with black people for how many years? For how many decades? I don't want to use years. For how many decades, right? That you have lived with people you don't know anything about. You don't understand them. You don't know anything about them. You understand that your ancestors or this and did some certain things, and after your ancestors, then they continued also doing almost the same thing. It's like the black people are actually not getting any break anywhere. Police violence, the brutality, all of it, redlining, all those things are still very much in place and still going on. Accountability. I have never heard, or except very few that are very bold enough to say that, everything going on is just against their will or against their wish or something, that, that they are not kind to people that look like me and all that. Just very few of them that you will see that are bold enough to talk about it. But the rest, the fact that some people still do not see anything wrong with what is going on. On a very serious note, it's abnormal. The government, that what is going on is abnormal. And sometimes I feel like some people are also making things that are abnormal to be normal. It can never be normal. It's just like making life harder for people can never be normal, because I am not living fine. And you, poor white person, know that you are not living fine. So why are you keeping quiet? Why are you not talking about it? Why is collectively, because most times I feel like collectively, we all can make a difference. But some people will sideline themselves that it is not, because it's not affecting them, or it is affecting them, but because they do not want people that look like me to take a lead. Man, okay, sometimes I don't want to be pissed talking about all these things going on. But the violence against, see, I don't know about black people. I don't know how they saw literally everything that is going to happen this year. I don't know how they saw it happen. Like everything literally they have talked about, they have said, are all happening. How did they vote for this administration? How? Coming in, war, crime, like all of it. There is nothing at this point there. That was one of the reasons why they asked this man, will you still go to heaven? He said he doesn't know, he doesn't think. Man, I don't want to go further. Bye for now.